The boxing world just exploded. Top insiders are revealing shocking secrets about this mega fight that will change everything you thought you knew. Top boxing promoter Eddie Hearn isn't buying the hype. The man who's seen it all is asking one game-changing question. Can Crawford survive being the smaller man? Hearn calls both fighters legends, but thinks Crawford might get crushed by Canelo's size advantage.
It's a great fight. I mean, it's two guys that are coming towards the back end of their careers, but two legends, pound-for-pound legends of the sport. A fascinating fight between two guys with tremendous ring IQ. I guess the big conversation is how the weight will affect Bud and how he will respond to the size. We got a situation where in Los Angeles, Crawford didn't look that big. Now you're going up two divisions at 168 for Canelo Alvarez, who is, a pound-for-pound legend of the sport. Against Skull, he didn't look great. The movement didn't look great. I didn't think his legs looked fantastic. And I think if Terence Crawford decides to box elusively in this fight, I think he's going to really have success.
Hearn believes size will decide everything in this fight. He's genuinely worried Crawford is walking into a nightmare scenario where physics beats skill. Amir Khan kept his pick secret, but couldn't hide his excitement.
I think I'm the only guy that's been in with both fighters. So, yeah, I'm thinking of maybe going there. I've been asked to go there and obviously give my input on the fight before they go in the ring. And obviously I know both fighters. Canelo's a friend now after our fight we had. And also Crawford, I shared training camp with him as well.
Khan called this a true mega fight, but refused to reveal his choice. His silence is making fans even more curious about his real thoughts. Then Teddy Atlas delivered an even harsher truth.
I hope that it's not, at the end of the day, when we're talking about saying, yeah, this fight happened a few years too late. I think that's potential of that being there. And nobody's talked about that because in their mind, they're both in their prime.
Atlas thinks this fight is happening at the wrong time. The legendary trainer questions if either fighter is really at their best anymore. He's wondering if we're watching two legends past their peak. Showbiz the adult sees something different that could shock everyone.
I think Saul Canelo Alvarez is hungrier than Terence Bud Crawford. I was going to wait to do this video for like fight week just to be sure, but I'm going to do it now to follow the video that I did yesterday. I think Saul Canelo Alvarez is obviously hungrier than Terence Bud Crawford. And let me tell you why. Let me count the ways, okay?
Showbiz thinks this fight comes down to pure hunger. He believes one fighter wants it way more than the other. His prediction might surprise you.
It's a good fight. But I'm not going to say too much. Okay. I'm going to save it till on the day of the fight. Okay. But look, it's going to be a mega fight. Honestly, it's hard to pick the winner. Yeah. But like I said, it's a close one.
William Skull made it crystal clear why this fight is almost unfair.
I think it's going to be a great fight. There is a disadvantage in regards to the weight classes. If there wasn't, it would be a 50-50 fight. But because of this fighting at this weight class, definitely benefits Canelo. I say about a 75% chance that Canelo wins the fight.
Skull believes weight classes exist for a reason. Canelo's natural size advantage makes this matchup almost impossible for Crawford to win. Spencer Oliver brought a sobering perspective to the discussion that has everyone thinking about the bigger picture. Oliver believes that regardless of who wins this fight, it could be Crawford's final appearance in a boxing ring. Win or lose, this might be the end of the road for one of the most skilled fighters of his generation.
What drives him on is quite remarkable because the guy still trains like a challenger. Yeah. But you're right in what you say. For Bud Crawford, you go, this is a whole new scale, what he's going into right now, the money that he's going to be receiving now. And if he wins this one, I think he sails off into the sunset. I don't think we see him in the ring again.
Simon Jordan entered the debate with a prediction that's catching a lot of people off guard. Jordan has picked his side, and it's not who most boxing fans expect. While everyone else is worried about the size difference and talking about Crawford's disadvantage, Jordan sees something different. He believes Crawford's boxing skills are like kryptonite to Canelo's fighting style.
I think it will. You're going with Spencer Crawford? We've discussed it on a number of occasions. I went straight away with Crawford, and so did Spence. I mean, other people that we've spoken to, I think Paul Smith and other people that sit on the show with us think it will be Canelo Alvarez because of size. We've seen Canelo Alvarez take that journey up to light heavy and find himself coming up against Dimitri Bivol and not being able to do what he does at super middleweight. I just think that Crawford is such a fighter of such stature and competence that he might just be the kryptonite to Saul Alvarez.
Can't wait for that. Jordan's analysis focuses on the technical matchup rather than the physical attributes. He's looking at how styles make fights, and in his view, Crawford's boxing ability creates problems that Canelo has never had to solve before. Even with the size difference that has everyone else concerned, Jordan thinks Crawford's skill set is perfectly designed to give Canelo fits. But Roy Jones Jr. changed everything with one revelation.
He was coming at them. They realized this is a different ball game, and it ain't quite as easy as I thought. What does he have to do?
And here's the difference between the fighters that you've just mentioned there and Terence Crawford. You're talking about good fighters, great fighters, but we're talking about all-time greats here in what I think is Terence Crawford. And I think that Terence Crawford is incredible at controlling the space. He's brilliant on the front foot, he's very spiteful, and he's great on the back foot. But those inches, those small margins that we were talking about before make the difference between winning and losing in contests like this. Now, Canelo Alvarez has had to adapt his style over the years, and he now loads up with single shots. He looks to close the space. With Terence Crawford, he's great at controlling that space. He boxes equally out of the southpaw stance, which
Roy wasn't impressed initially, but when he learned Canelo brought in Jaron Ennis for sparring, his entire perspective flipped. Now he says this fight is way harder to predict than anyone thinks. Paulie Malignaggi went nuclear with his breakdown.
A minute or two at just what Terence Crawford brings into the arena, into the confrontation, the outsider, the man from Nebraska.
Malignaggi said the only reason this fight is close is because Canelo might be washed up. He gives Crawford props, but thinks the weight difference saves Canelo from total embarrassment.
How's he going to do against Canelo, Saul Alvarez, the big one next weekend? We'll talk more about it after this break. And now, for the next quarter of an hour or so, let's talk Crawford. Never above light middleweight, but now fighting at super middleweight against one of the legends of the sport.
But Malignaggi warns Crawford is still taking massive risk. Even declining Canelo's power and body shots could end Crawford's night instantly.
The dominant figure in that division for many a year. 42-0 though. Terence Crawford. Strength and conditioning coach Chet Fortune has been looking after the champion in his build up to this. He's been saying that he's been strengthening his core muscle strength, his neck strength.
True Geordie came firing back at all the size talk with a bold statement that challenges the entire narrative. While everyone else is treating Crawford like David facing Goliath, Geordie thinks the boxing world is getting it completely wrong. He believes all this talk about Crawford being too small is way overblown, and that people are underestimating what Crawford brings to the table.
Yeah, Canelo's a bit more thick in his skeletal structure, you know, he's got that dense muscle to him. But Crawford will not be the tiny guy in there like people have made it out. And actually, both of these guys have made a living.
Andre Ward, the undefeated former champion whose analytical mind is matched only by his championship pedigree, made his prediction crystal clear. When Ward speaks about boxing, people listen, not just because he was great, but because he understands the sport on a level that few people can match. His perspective comes from years of studying opponents, finding weaknesses, and executing game plans at the highest level.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I've not been against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat him.
Lester Martinez brings a completely unique perspective to this debate because he's actually been in the ring with Crawford during sparring sessions. This isn't theoretical analysis or watching tape. This is first-hand experience with Crawford's power, speed, and ring intelligence. Martinez has felt what it's like to be on the receiving end of Crawford's combinations, and that gives him insight that no amount of video study can provide.
Está como dicen muchos, está cabrón. Está preparado, está listo, a pesar de venir de una categoría muy abajo, subir a la 168, pues yo tengo los sparring con él. Tanto lo he ayudado como he sentido que él me ha ayudado también a mí.
Sebastian Fundora knows exactly what Crawford is facing because he's been there himself. As a fighter who's consistently faced bigger, stronger opponents throughout his career, Fundora understands the mental and physical challenges that come with being the smaller man in a big fight. His insider knowledge of weight jumping makes his analysis incredibly valuable.
That he's comfortable at 168, you know, that he's been fighting there. He went and collected all the belts at that weight class. Crawford, of course, Crawford has a chance. He has a big chance, you know, being one of the pound-for-pound fighters of the world. But it's just the advantage of being there first. You know what to expect in that weight class. Crawford's coming off a 154 fight that he fought last year. So I really don't consider him even a 154. He's been fighting at 147 for a while. He had that one fight at 154, and then he stopped fighting for a year again. So, you know, of course he's probably been training, you know, again, high-class fighter. But to be comfortable at 168, you're going to have to do some fights in there. And going in there fighting the undisputed champion, it's going to take a toll.
The boxing world is split. Some see Crawford's skill winning. Others believe Canelo's power will be too much. Nobody really knows what happens when these legends collide. Will Crawford's boxing genius overcome the odds? Or does Canelo have enough left to prove the doubters wrong? What's your prediction? Drop it in the comments and let's see who's got the best read on this mega fight.